The unlucky warthog was bitten several times by the leopard, but its powerful legs kept pushing hard, sending the leopard crashing back to the ground. But no one expected the leopard to take advantage of the warthog's weak position and bring it down once again. It seemed like the leopard was about to finish the hunt. However, something unexpected happened. The head of a hunting dog suddenly appeared nearby. The sight instantly frightened the leopard. It nearly jumped out of its skin, while the hunting dog also turned and ran. By the time they realized what had happened and tried to react, the warthog was already...
Two wild dogs were chasing a mother rhino and her calf across the grassland. The dogs worked together, circling their targets and looking for an opening. One focused on distracting the mother rhino, while the other searched for a chance to reach the young calf. The mother rhino, however, gave them no opportunity. The dogs had a clear strategy. One kept moving around to draw attention, while the other targeted the rhino's hind legs. Their stamina allowed them to keep the pressure on for a long time. A rhino may not fear a lion, but dealing with wild dogs can be a completely different challenge. The dogs are fast, agile, and stay low to the ground, making them difficult targets. More importantly, their teamwork is remarkably effective. If lions rely on cooperation, wild dogs take it to another level. That made the calf the most vulnerable target, but the mother rhino had already figured out their tactics. As soon as the dog got too close, she immediately charged it away. But once the dogs backed off, she never chased them far. The calf remained close to its mother at all times and never wandered away. Thanks to the strong coordination between mother and calf, the dogs struggled to find an opening. Realizing that more wild dogs could arrive at any moment, the mother rhino finally decided to move away with her calf. If a larger pack appeared, the situation could become much more dangerous. As long as they kept moving, they still had a good chance of escaping safely. Although the wild dogs continued following them, they were careful not to waste too much energy. After all, choosing the right prey is essential for survival, and this target was clearly not worth it.
This was a classic moment where the bear found an easy target. It grabbed the old buffalo from behind and tried to roll it over. The buffalo kept making loud calls but showed almost no resistance, leaving the bear confused. Normally, a buffalo would fight back immediately, but this one remained unusually still. The bear suspected it must have been badly injured. It continued nudging and testing the buffalo, and after seeing nothing but fear and panic, it became completely confident. The bear suddenly bit into its back and flipped the buffalo over with little effort. At that moment, it became clear that the buffalo's front legs were badly injured. It wasn't refusing to run away, it simply couldn't. Even under the bear's constant pressure, the buffalo made no attempt to fight back. It seemed to have completely lost hope. After all, struggling might only bring more pain, while giving up required far less strength.
Not every encounter follows the expected path, and this meeting completely changed his life. The young lion had been unable to stand properly because of health problems and was eventually abandoned. From that day on, he became withdrawn and spent most of his time alone in a corner. Then a friendly dog entered his life and changed everything. At first, the lion cub showed little interest, but over time, the dog's constant affection slowly broke through his loneliness. Before long, the two became inseparable and formed a strong friendship. A few years later, the cub had grown into a powerful lion, while the dog looked much the same as before. Despite the huge difference in size, their bond never changed. But happy times do not always last forever. Worried that the lion's growing size might accidentally harm the dog, the caretakers decided to take the dog away. After that, the lion became noticeably sad and lost his cheerful spirit. For several days, he barely touched his food. He often called out, searching for his missing friend. Seeing how unhappy the lion had become, the caretakers finally brought the dog back. Once reunited, the two friends happily played together again. And just like that,
The unfortunate leopard was attacked by a pack of wild dogs. They struck again and again, constantly pulling at him. Already badly injured, the leopard had no easy way to escape. At first, it looked like the wild dogs were finally backing off, but after only a short distance, they returned once more. The reason was simple. Earlier, one of the wild dogs had been bitten by the leopard. Now they wanted revenge, and the leopard had also wandered into their territory. The leopard never got a chance to break free. There were no nearby trees he could quickly climb for safety. That left him trapped and surrounded by the wild dogs. If he couldn't get away soon, he might not survive, even if the dogs didn't finish him off themselves. The wild dogs kept biting and pressuring the leopard while he slowly backed away. Each time he tried to climb, they dragged him back down. But in the end, the leopard finally spotted an opportunity. With a bit of luck, he managed to escape and save his life. This was the first time the young leopard cub had ever seen a hippo, and the overwhelming presence of the giant animal quickly caught its attention. Hippos are extremely dangerous creatures, and few animals are willing to challenge them. The mother leopard had brought her cubs here for a reason. Being newly born, the cubs knew nothing about danger, and it was her job to teach them. True bravery is not about facing every threat, but knowing when to stay away from one. The young male cubs seemed fascinated by the hippo and kept wandering around the muddy bank, watching the massive animal closely. Meanwhile, the female cub appeared far more interested in the mud itself, happily lying down and playing. Their different personalities were already becoming clear. The young male continued looking around with curiosity, but in the next moment, the powerful presence of the hippo changed everything. For the first time, he truly understood what danger felt like. Faced with the hippo's intimidating warning, the cub instinctively dropped low to the ground and froze. As the hippo continued giving clear warning signals, the mother leopard quickly gathered her cubs and let them away.
As the male lion let out a series of loud roars, the two lion cubs that had been away from him rushed over at once. They rubbed against him repeatedly, as if trying to make up for all the time apart. This was the first time the cubs had truly met their father. The male lion stamped his hind legs against the ground, unable to hide his excitement. Within moments, the cubs had become attached to the big mane-covered lion. Although he looked serious and intimidating, there was a gentle side beneath that tough appearance. For young cubs, a father's affection often feels exactly like that. As the cubs chased the male lion around, leaving him with no chance to rest, the lionesses watched with soft and caring eyes. The cubs ran around happily without a worry in the world. The joy of the moment was impossible to miss. Whether among animals or humans, reunions often create the most memorable and beautiful moments. The unfortunate lion cub was being chased through the water by a hippo that refused to give up. The young lion could do nothing but swim as fast as possible. One wrong move and a powerful bite could have ended everything instantly. It seemed the cub might escape by reaching the waterfall, but the hippo continued the pursuit. It looked determined to catch the little lion. The cub kept moving away from the waterfall, hoping to leave the danger behind. But before it could find safety, a new threat appeared. A crocodile was now lurking in the water. The lions watching from a distance were clearly worried, but there was nothing they could do to help. The crocodile launched attack after attack. Although the lion cub was fast, it could never know where the next strike would come from. The hippo standing along the shore could only watch helplessly. Just as the cub reached the far end of the river, disaster finally struck. The crocodile caught hold of one of its front legs, and the cub vanished beneath the water.
This is a rare and heartwarming scene between bears and lion cubs. Anyone who has spent time with young children knows that if they are busy playing, they usually stay happy. For these bear cubs, it was no different. Another bear soon joined the fun from the other side. The lion cubs became so excited that they almost forgot everything around them. It's no surprise, since these young cubs were still very small and had only recently begun exploring the area. With such carefree play, accidents can happen without warning. More lion cubs soon ran over to join the bears. After all, it's not every day they get to see bears up close, and their curiosity was impossible to resist. The bears had thick fur covering their bodies and unusual features that fascinated the cubs. The lion cubs kept surrounding the bears and playing with them. The bear on the left was completely surrounded by the curious cubs. Meanwhile, the bear on the right had already started calling for its cubs to head home. Even though the young ones didn't want to leave, they had little choice but to listen. After all, spending time together like this was one of the most relaxing moments of their day. Soon, they would return to their normal routine and
The male lion was happily chewing on a large bone, but if the food wasn't enough, his attitude could change instantly. Within the pride, the males held complete authority, and whether the lionesses got a share often depended on them. Yet whenever danger appeared, they were usually the first to step forward. The lionesses handled most of the hunting, while the male lions protected the pride, but these hunting dogs were persistent and refused to give up. At that moment, the male lion made a quick decision and moved away, hoping to draw attention away from the cubs. The hunting dogs believed the lion was guarding something valuable and immediately followed him. The lion kept moving, then stopping, making sure the dogs stayed focused on him. By the time the hunting dogs understood what This was a rare sight to witness. The second and third wild dogs were resting side by side, but in the very next moment, one hunting dog suddenly grabbed the other's hind leg. What looked like a friendly moment quickly revealed a hidden intention. The hunting dog tried to keep pulling at the wild dog's leg, but after seeing the strong reaction, it backed off for the time being. There was no need to rush. The moment wasn't right yet. The hunting dog was breathing heavily, with its injured hind leg hanging awkwardly, though it could still remain on its feet. Its thin stomach showed clear signs that it had not eaten for quite some time, and its weakened condition made standing difficult. The second wild dog stayed patient. Its earlier move had only been a test. It soon acted as if nothing had happened and slowly moved toward the riverbank. The moment an opportunity appeared, it would.
The two lions suddenly lowered themselves and slowly moved forward before hiding behind a small waterfall. Ahead of them, a mother wildebeest and her calf were walking by. The young calf was hopping around happily, completely unaware of the danger nearby. The mother wildebeest suddenly stopped and seemed to sense something unusual. She turned back for a moment, but seeing her calf continue forward, she quickly followed. Just as the mother began to relax, the two lions burst out from their hiding spot. She immediately stood her ground and fought back with all her strength. Having recently given birth, she no longer had the energy to face multiple lions at once. She only wanted her calf to escape as quickly as possible. But the young calf had no idea what was happening and stayed close to its mother. To the calf, he knew its mother felt completely safe. The mother wildebeest was both worried and helpless. At that moment, a third lion rushed into the attack. The young calf was knocked to the ground instantly. The unfortunate mother wildebeest no longer had any chance of escape. The lioness grabbed the hunter from behind and kept striking at his belly, making it impossible for him to get back up. Just moments earlier, they had been peacefully feeding on the carcass. In a sudden flash, the hunter was thrown to the ground by the lioness. The other two hunters had already escaped and were nowhere to be seen. This entire scene was being watched by the leopard nearby. The hunter kept snapping his jaws toward the lioness. This prevented her from launching another attack. The tactic turned out to be very effective. In an instant, the hunter managed to change the situation. But instead of running away, he was knocked back to the ground. It seems certain that the hunter would not escape this time. However, no one expected him to keep fighting back against the lioness. The exhausted lioness hesitated for a moment and stepped away. She shoved him aside with force, clearly annoyed by the hunter. Then she went looking for the leopard. But after checking the area and finding nothing, she realized the hunter had stolen the opportunity. At that point, she could only leave.
It turns out the hippo had already been killed by the crocodile, but after only a few bites, the crocodile was forced to move away. One wild dog on the left began bothering it, while another rushed in and grabbed its tail. Even though a crocodile's armor-like skin is extremely tough, its tail is one of its most sensitive areas. Still, with a body weighing several hundred pounds, it barely moved. The crocodile wanted to take a few more bites, but it also hoped to keep more of the hippo meat for later. The wild dogs quickly went into action. Since they couldn't overpower the crocodile directly, they kept circling around it. Yeah. One dog bit from the left, another snapped from the right, constantly trying to drive the crocodile away. Although its skin was tough, the crocodile was being endlessly harassed by these persistent hunters. After repeated attacks, the crocodile finally became frustrated. It stopped eating, lifted its head, and kept watching the carcass. In the end, the crocodile could no longer tolerate the pressure. The wild dogs kept making sure the crocodile was truly gone before returning to enjoy the meal. What was the outcome?
Two powerful lions had cornered a lone male lion. One attacker clamped onto his back legs, making every movement difficult, while the other repeatedly targeted his upper legs, keeping him trapped on the ground. For invading lions, showing mercy was never an option. Working together as brothers gave them a huge advantage, increasing their strength and chances of success. The lone lion desperately tried to fight back, but he had already reached his limit. His energy was drained, his body was exhausted, and although he wanted to get back on his feet, he simply didn't have the strength left. Earlier, he had charged into danger without fully understanding the challenge ahead. Now he was paying the price for that decision. The two brothers forced him down once again with little effort. This victory was not only physical, it was psychological as well. The overwhelming pressure from the attackers crushed the lone lion's confidence and determination. Even if he managed to survive this brutal encounter, the memory of this defeat would likely remain with him for the rest of his life.
When food is scarce, hunters will dare to provoke even a massive herd of elephants, attempting to split the group in two. A mother elephant and her calf were isolated from the rest to prevent any rescue. The other elephants were surrounded by wild hunting dogs, allowing the pack to focus their attack on the little elephant. The hunting dogs kept lunging at the mother and her calf. Although the calf was safe right next to its mother, the defense was constantly moving, and one careless step could cause the mother to accidentally accidentally knock the little elephant down. The hunting dogs were in no hurry, constantly provoking and angering the mother elephant. The moment she charged out to chase them, the dogs would pivot and run straight toward the calf. If she kept moving frantically, the little elephant risked being trampled by her at any moment. The dogs had the perfect strategy. All they needed now was time. At that critical moment, the rest of the trapped herd finally reacted. Another elephant rushed to the mother's side like the wind, instantly breaking the hunting dog's plan. Under the protection of the herd, the little elephant ran quickly. The dogs only cared about escaping, and no one could get close to the calf anymore. But the chase wasn't over. One dog was suddenly struck by the charging calf and knocked flat. The elephant's high intelligence and bravery completely took over as they aggressively fought back. This time, the hunting dogs finally retreated for good. You've seen crows turn the tables, but never one starting a full-blown war. By biting the vulture on the left and then the one on the right, this genius bird turned enemies into rivals. Earlier, a flock of vultures gathered around a weak, fallen calf, but lacking sharp beaks, they could only stare helplessly. That's when a hot-tempered, red-headed vulture arrived, using its dagger-like beak to instantly rip open the hide. The heavy hitters swarmed the feast, aggressively pushing the tiny crow out. Frustrated, the crow decided, if I can't eat, nobody will. It began violently plucking feathers from both sides. Blaming each other for the sneak attacks, the furious vultures erupted into a massive brawl. With everyone distracted, the clever crow easily slipped in and grabbed its prize. Crows are absolute masters of mind games.
A few hunters spotted a sleeping bear. They figured an animal like this must be guarding something valuable, so they decided to check it out. They looked around for thieves but didn't find any. Wanting backup, they called in more of their companions. The group stared at the bear for a long time, completely unwilling to leave. They were convinced something delicious was hidden nearby. Even if there wasn't any food, they joked that having a lion-like prize in their hands would be just as good. The hunters nodded among themselves, clearly mapping out a battle plan. But just then, the bear turned around and slowly started to walk away. Looking half dead and half alive, the bear was obviously just waking up. He didn't even bother to look the hunters in the eye, acting as if they were completely beneath him. Every time the bear turned, his arrogant attitude made the hunter's blood pressure boil. Finally, the bear looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, seemingly planning his next move. Seeing the bear act so completely fearless, the hunters ultimately decided to back down. After all, they were just curious, and risking their lives for it was simply not worth it.
A poor baby buffalo was ambushed by a bear. With no way out, it tried to fight back, but backed away in pure terror. The 400-pound bear grabbed the calf, bit its back, and slammed it down in an instant, quickly targeting the neck. When the calf managed to stand up again, the bear completely locked onto its throat. The weak calf tried to struggle, but it lacked the strength and crashed heavily to the ground. Still, the alert bear stayed on guard, watching out for the buffalo herd while suffocating its prey. Wandering away from the safety of the herd cost this poor calf its life.
An unlucky wild horse was being hunted down by a dog, but at the last second, he cooked up a clever trick. He ran straight toward an old water buffalo, gave it a sharp kick, and rushed right into the middle of the buffalo herd. That sudden kick left the old buffalo completely confused. The horse's plan was to muddy the waters and use the massive herd as a shield, knowing the dog wouldn't dare to be too arrogant around so many large animals. The clever horse kept running in circles around the herd while the dog chased him back and forth, quickly realizing he had been tricked. The buffaloes didn't appreciate the chaos and immediately tried to chase the horse away, but no matter how hard they tried to expel him, the horse skillfully dodged and kept weaving through the herd like an expert. As the dog relentlessly pressed the chase, a strange thing happened. The dog and the water buffaloes seemed to reach a silent agreement. The buffaloes completely stopped chasing the dog and instead started helping it corner the horse. The horse's plan to shift the danger to the buffalo herd completely backfired. Not only did he fail to escape the dog, but he also deeply offended the old water buffalo. Now trapped in a two-front battle, the horse watched as the furious old buffalo charged in and powerfully tossed him with its horns. Seeing the buffaloes join the fight, the situation turned critical. The horse tried his best to break away from the herd to avoid a hopeless 2-on-1 fight, but it was already too late. The dog had completely surrounded him, and his only choice left was to run for